other books down to Caroline's son.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's nobody here yet. Thank God. Oh, thank God.
All right, so I guess I can give an update on Growing Greener. That's really, I didn't send out an agenda because that's the only thing that I was going to talk about. But before I do that, do any of you guys have anything you want to talk about or discuss?
I did trade some emails with Perry Warren about the Pico lot. So you want to get into that first, or you want to cover that later?
Yeah, we can do that first.
Yeah, I've been talking to him probably since June, and making progress, I guess. You know, Pico's still standing firm. You know, they have a ridiculous number for the lot. Borough, when I talked to Paula, you know, it's not something the borough would be interested in, but we are trying to get down the donation route. And, you know, at this point, remains to be seen where it's going to go, but the talks are continuing. It's not dead yet.
Yeah, that's interesting to see what'll happen. My
Yeah.
understanding is it's like basically useless. It's just open land and Pico's trying to sell it. It's like no one's gonna buy it. You can't do anything.
Zero commercial value, absolutely.
So yeah, well, I guess we'll see what comes of it.
Yep.
But yeah, thanks for keeping your ear to the ground on that.
Yep.
Anything else, Kat? I saw you sent the it was like a virtual EAC summit invite. I wasn't planning on going or attending. It might have already happened, but I didn't go.
I don't remember. I think it's October or September. I just I guess I'm on the email list, so they send me everything and I just forward to you guys in case you're interested.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I wasn't planning on going, even though it's virtual. Usually it was like 7 in Doylestown. I was like, no one can make that from here. So, all right. Well, Growing Greener, we have the equipment for. Well, should I give a background for Alex? Would you guys mind?
No, not at all.
Sure.
All right, real quick refresher. And Alex, we didn't really do introductions. I don't know. I guess you want to do that
That would also be fantastic.
now that we're recording, so everyone gets to our little bio. Oh,
Should we give them a 2-hour update on upgrades to a wastewater treatment plant or sewage treatment plant?
Yeah, that was Kathy's first meeting she ever came to. Morrisville Municipal Authority gave us like a 2-hour presentation. It was a little brutal, but something they felt was necessary. So I'm Michael Thompson. I've been chair for a couple years. I've been on the EAC for a couple years. It all kind of blurs together. I worked in environmental remediation for a while, and now I kind of do watershed management. I'm like a water resource engineer. I'm a professional engineer finally in the state of PA, and that's my background. So Kat is to my right on my screen, so I'll call on you, I guess.
my turn. No, I have no background in engineering at all. I just like passionate about water and nature and Yardley, so that's why I'm on this EAC.
Kathy, you want to go next? I'm like just going around my screen. I know it's not in the same order, so.
Yeah, sure. Kathy Romaine. I'm your vice chair. I've been on the EAC just over 3 years now. I am a professional environmental scientist and I do work in the consulting industry. So currently I work at a firm called Kennedy Jenks in Princeton and do a lot of work on remediation projects. Mike?
And then all that's left is Mike. I think you know Mike.
A little bit, but I don't know if he knows my background. So I don't have the environmental engineering experience as my cohorts, but I've always been passionate about the environment. I served on the EAC in Newtown Borough before moving to Yardley. I've been in pharmaceutical regulatory uh, field since, well, I'm sorry to say, probably about 30 years. So I was a facilities manager for a while. I had responsibility for waste treatment plants, so probably know enough to be dangerous.
And I guess did everyone, Alex, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? I guess I think you already did,
Sure.
but anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so I graduated last year from Washington University in St. Louis with a major in bio, minor in environmental studies. I've largely spent the last year kind of exploring what one can do with a biology degree because I really found that academia was not the place for me. And I didn't have a whole lot of industry experience to work from because that's not what you can get at a university for the most part. So I was really looking around. I worked at Optinose for a few months, so a pharmaceutical company. I looked into working for environmental consulting firms. I looked into working really just a large variety of different things to give me some new experiences. And I'm really grateful for, being able to be a part of this group because all of you guys have been passionate about the environment and you're farther along in your career. So I'm hoping that I can get some really nice advice and kind of work alongside people who have some really good experience to hopefully impart some wisdom.
Yeah, great. Um, I think your interest in the environment is the only requirement, so you're probably overqualified for this group, but yeah, welcome. Certainly, if we can help in any way in your professional development, I think we would. So hopefully this helps you in some way, you know?
I mean,
Um,
yeah, I'm willing to learn almost anything, so I'm really happy to kind of get my feet wet with whatever project you guys need me on.
yeah, we only have like one or two projects ongoing right now. The one is funded through Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, and that's around the watershed. And I think I bullied everyone into like going down that route. So I don't want you to think that this is like what this group is about. We're really like we get requests from Borough Council when what's their name? Elcon was applying as a waste processing facility down in Falls Township, and we passed a resolution against the support of that, like not for it. Just the Borough Council will, I guess we didn't pass it. Borough Council will ask our opinion. We are here as an advisory committee to them on environmental relating matters. So we kind of drafted the resolution, went to them with a suggestion that they approve it, and then they voted to approve it. That was like a couple of years ago. That's an example. I think what's Tom Wells's, what does he represent? Citizen Climate Change Lobby, CCL, Citizen Climate Lobby. The same thing happened. They wanted to go, usually if you want to go to Borough Council, you like come through a committee in some manner. So a lot of times like environmental related issues will come through us. And that's happened like twice in how many years I've been on here. So it doesn't happen very much. And the fact that we have a watershed project going on right now, we're not a watershed like group. You can come with whatever ideas you want. Kat was helping, I forget her name, but
Anne?
And
investigate like electric car charging stations for the borough. Like that would have been really cool, but I think Kat put in a lot of work and it eventually was like not feasible, which is unfortunate, but you know, that would have been really cool. So any like ideas you have, it's just bring them to the table and we'll see if it's a road worth going down. Mike has introduced the idea of pollinator gardens, and I think we're still trying to get something done with that eventually.
Yeah.
So we're certainly not, just because we have one project going on right now, don't think that's it. You can, ideas are welcome. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Alex.
all right. Well, with that, I'll try and give you like because I want to keep this short for everyone. I'll try and give you the super brief overview of what we're trying to do. Should have brought up some files before I started this. Where's that report? That would be useful. My maze of folders is so deep. It's like 10 levels deep before I find the document I'm looking for. It's ridiculous. All right, so let's share this. If you can't tell, I'm like trying to read my screen and find this stupid share screen button. Can I even do that?
Michael.
I know, it's like all you see is my forehead. Where is this stupid thing?
If you, at least for me, if you wiggle your mouse, you'll see like a whole bunch of stuff pop up, like stop video, mute, participants, chat, share screen.
Oh, share screen. It's in green, so I'm ignoring it. Ugh. Thank you, Alex.
We're
No
glad
problem.
you joined, Alex.
Well,
we would have been here for 5 more minutes.
Staring at
watching
Michael's forehead.
All right, so this is like a part of the grant application that we submitted. It was just some background like research on this. There's no figures in here. Background research on this project. So here are all the figures. This is Bucks County. Yardley's like right here. This is the Delaware River. These are all the streams in here. Can you guys see this, or am
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see
that's-
'Cause a lot of the times I'm talking and people are like, we can't see your screen. So our watershed is this one in green right here. It's a relatively small watershed direct to the Delaware. You're familiar with what a watershed is? Maybe
Yeah.
that's so okay. You never know. Sometimes people are like, I don't know what that means.
yeah, no problem.
It goes direct to the Delaware, so it's kind of been overlooked in past studies. A lot of things came right down to like Jericho or even Dyer's Creek, and just they kind of skipped Buck and Brock Creek for whatever reason. And we also have Lake Afton that you probably are familiar with. So here's just ignore that. Here's our watershed again. This is on a USGS quadrangle, and you see like our little Lake Afton here. There's a dam right here called the upper dam, lower dam right here. There's a pipe that feeds into Lake Afton. You get all the swampy lagoons behind the upper dam. Then you have, which one? I always forget. Brock Creek. So Buck Creek is technically, according to the state, not impaired, and Brock Creek is. So Brock Creek comes kind of all the way up here towards 95. For whatever reason, I can't scroll. That's super helpful.
Yeah, it looks like you're stuck in select mode.
That's fun.
There you go.
So yeah, that's kind of like the setting of the project, right? And
Okay.
some of like the background stuff. This is just development over the years. So this is kind of a nice snapshot of where things stand today in terms of like development, and the green is what's called the riparian buffer, or what's left of it at this point. Where this kind of started was looking at Lake Afton and a report that Princeton Hydro did for Friends of Lake Afton because of these algal blooms and the eutrophication. And then it started kind of questioning how can we address the impacts of that, and the impacts are really from the watershed as a whole, not necessarily just at the lake. And then it kind of expanded into, oh, well, the lake or the whole watershed's impaired. It's on what's called the 303D list of, it's like an integrated water quality report for Pennsylvania. So they listed it as impaired, not requiring a TMDO, which basically means they don't need to set up a plan for it. So it's kind of like a lower priority. But we're kind of trying to take a step to do some science and figure out specifically what's causing the impairments, which are really related to the suburbanization of the area. I mean, there's a crazy number of outfalls. And then there's also some ag up here in these headwaters. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what's going on in terms of like a nutrient budget with flows and things of that nature. So we're trying in this project to have like the community go out, get educated. We're trying to hold like a training seminar where people will get educated on what's called a visual assessment, and we'll like go out and look at the stream and fill out some paperwork and be like, here are good areas to do projects. That's one part of it. We're trying to gauge the stream, which is the equipment we just got to get continuous flow measurement. We're going to collect water quality samples to get some chemical data to complement the flow and try and develop some like mass loading stuff. And just overall try and understand like what's going in, what's going out, what's being retained, how is this all related, and then ultimately what can we do to help make this better. And it kind of ties in with 2 permits, because this is really Lower Makefield Township right here, and then Yardley Borough. Those are really the only 2. Like Middletown Township technically is over here, but this is 95. Like I doubt with the amount of stormwater infrastructure, maybe water is going underneath. I don't know. So much of this rainwater comes like down into these new detention basins up here. So it's really, it's like so tied into what's called the MS4 program for municipal separate stormwater sewer. I don't know if I said that right. Which are permits that Yardley and Lower Makefield have. And that's like to try and help regulate stormwater runoff, to help improve that, because it's, you know, it's not good to have just like tons of sediment and sheet flow and nutrients and lawn fertilizer and all that good stuff just rushing right off into the sewer. So that's why you see those little like fish placards on the drains, and it's like, don't dump here, it goes to the river. It's part of the MS4 program.
Okay.
So hopefully out of this whole project, we get a plan developed, and then we can use that plan to acquire more funding and do projects to actually like fix things. So that's the goal.
So I assume those, I don't want to call them bubblers, but the
Yeah, the aerators.
are like kind of were part of that original project you were talking about.
I think so. I don't know if they went in before Princeton Hydro did that study for Friends of Lake Afton or not. They might have. I know that Friends of Lake Afton does algicide treatments as well with like copper sulfide or whatever it is. Copper something.
Okay.
Copper. I don't know.
Is there
I forget the chemical.
Is there a resource that says kind of what the local ecology is of Lake Afton and what is it, Buck Creek and Brock Creek?
Well, you can look at, I can send you the Princeton Hydro report, which was kind of the first assessment. And then I can send you this report. And then there's actually an older report from 97 that I haven't reviewed too much, other than to make sure we weren't repeating what they did.
Michael,
They might talk about it more.
does Alex have access to our Dropbox folder?
No, probably not.
Yeah, because all
That'd
that,
probably be the easiest way.
yeah, all that stuff is in there.
So I'll share that with you, and then I'll just like point you to those documents. Feel free to review them. you don't need to like go crazy unless you want to or if you're interested in it. But that's I don't honestly know offhand if it's like this is the ecology and stuff of the lake. There were like macro samples done on the invertebrates, but you know how those are. You just get like one numeric score. So,
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I was curious mostly because from my learning about eutrophication, generally that is like it makes things fairly uniform. And I know Afton is stocked with, I believe it's stocked, right?
I don't know.
I know someone
I
was
kn-
telling me that the canal was stocked, and I
Canal is
assumed
stocked. I saw
Yeah.
them this year. It was crazy. I thought it was a SWAT team outside my house. Like I kid you not, like bulletproof vests and camouflage. I was like, what the heck is going on? Oh, it's the fish. Like, I don't, have you guys ever seen it? It was crazy. It was like a convoy of like 6 trucks. They all parked outside my house. I was like, oh my God. So the DEA is here.
And then you get another 20 guys that volunteer to help, and they're following those trucks around. And yeah,
Is
it's quite a
it's so,
few.
it's
I've
so
done
crazy.
it.
You've done it? You've been part of the convoy?
I volunteered. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. I had no idea what was going on. I was like, sure someone was getting raided on our street.
Mm.
do they
Lo
just
and behold, it was the fish.
do they dump just adult fish in there, or
I don't know if they're like yearlings or something. I don't know.
No, everything that's dumped is of legal size, and with trout, some of them are pretty puny. I think it's 10 inches is minimum size to take. So yeah, anything they dump is legal, and they dump some monsters. That's all those volunteers think they're gonna see where the big ones are getting let go, and they're gonna go back and get them.
you think?
3, 4, 5 pound trout, big ones.
Wow.
Is it just trout, or do they stock with something else?
No, it's just trout,
Is it
Okay.
brown trout? It's probably not even brookies, right?
brown and rainbow.
Brown and rainbow, of course. No brookies. Yeah, so I don't know. I know they talk in the Princeton Hydro Report about nutrient loading from geese. And I think something Liz was trying to push for was also sampling for bacterial, like E. coli or something, also due to geese. And that was also in relation to the dams. So something to consider. All right, well, I guess the quick update on the equipment was that we got it. We got 3 level loggers, and I downloaded the software and hooked up the level loggers and ran a couple of them. I don't know, I can show you what it looks like, but essentially they all seem like they're working. I just had a question when this is like an example of one. I named them Yardley Burrow 1, 2, 3. I had,
Very
so this is,
original.
yeah, I know, right? So this is the output from one of them. I set it at a 1 second interval just to get some data, but I figured you can set it at 5 minute interval, 1 minute interval, and it goes like 17 days. Or you can set it at a 5 minute interval and it goes like 72.5 days. So I assume 5 minute interval is probably the way to go, but I feel like we should probably check data more often than monthly. It really doesn't take long. I guess I'll just like run out with a computer and download it. It has like a little shuttle. You have to like pull the logger because the shuttle, the ones I've used before had the data connection on like the end, so you didn't even have to pull the level logger, but this one you have to pull it and you pop it in the shuttle, download the data, put it back. And this is what it looks like. It records absolute pressure in PSI and then temperature. The question I had that I sent back to Liz was that there's no sensor for the atmosphere. So I wasn't sure. When I did it before, you had what was called a barometric sensor, which you just left out in the air, and then you could use that probe to correct all your other three for atmospheric pressure. So then the pressure that the other three are registering is really the pressure due to the water, which you can then calculate depth of water just by the specific gravity of water. And then that height of water is what you correlate to a stream flow. But maybe I'm wrong. Well, I did it for well depth. Maybe it's like not as big a deal if you're doing stream flow. You could just be like, this pressure is that stream flow. But I would think if it was like a low pressure system going through, you know, the atmosphere is going to have an effect. It's like, even if the depth of water is the same, the atmosphere, you'd want to account for it. So I don't know, maybe ASA was planning on doing like a weather station close by. I don't know. That's where we're at. I guess ASA is waiting on like an invoice or something from Remington Vernick they're waiting to get paid before they do more work or something, which is like surprising because I feel like they haven't done anything, but it's fine.
So
been a lot of office work so far.
they've not installed these yet.
No.
Okay.
So
That's the next step.
I gave them back to Borough Hall so Remington Vernick can pick them up. I used the license key for the software, so I'm wondering if like it's a one-time use. I don't know. If they have a problem, I guess I'll like cancel it somehow or call Onset. I don't know. It would seem ridiculous if it was like a one-time use. If you have the USB drive, you have the product key, so who knows? But yeah, Paula had a good question about winter flows. I'm still just worried they're going to get wiped out in a flood because it gets pretty gnarly when it's like one of those flash floods. So hopefully ASA can install them. We have permission from Joe Kramer to put it behind the grist mill. We have permission from Yardley Homeowners Association to put it up there, and then we have permission from the borough to put it by the bridge. So we're set on all that. It's we're just waiting. So it's kind of where we're at. I guess we'll see what ASA says about the barometric correction. I learned the hard way. I put it in a black stick-up well casing and it overheated and I lost like weeks of data, which was super cool when I did it. So lesson learned, put it in a cool shady spot if we use one. Other than that, you guys got any questions for me? I kind of like went back and looked at ASA's draft, like, I don't even know, sampling plan, I guess you would call it. It was just a whole lot of blank. And I read through, or I skimmed through what they said Minnesota's field visual assessment protocol. So I went through that just to see what it was like, and it's pretty straightforward. They even have like a little macro worksheet that maybe we could do. That'd be fun, you know, like a little kick net and classify some bugs. I don't know. Seems simple. It seemed like a very watered down macro version for like volunteers, but they did say you should be trained first, because I don't know that I would accurately distinguish a stonefly from a mayfly. Probably not. Who knows? So hopefully this recording never comes back to bite me when I'm staking my career on the difference between a stonefly and a mayfly. So that's it for me.
What do we know about updates to the state?
Updates to the state.
Yeah, do we owe them any updates on where we are with the grant? Everything's a little strange because of COVID.
Yeah, I mean, we sent Liz the in-kind match document that we had so far, which was really nice because that kind of like reset the clock for all of us on tracking our time. So Alex, I guess that's another thing. I'll share with you an Excel spreadsheet that we're trying to, so with all these grants, you have what's called a match requirement. So they'll put up some money, but you need to match a certain percent of it. And this grant is 15%. And we're claiming that match amount through what's called in-kind matching, which means we're not throwing up any cash, but we're donating a lot of like volunteer hours and other things. So our volunteer hours, when they are specific towards the grant, are really important to keep track of. So if you're like reviewing these reports with a specific eye towards this project, it's just good to keep track of those hours so we can claim it as an in-kind reimbursement. And I think when we did our first one, we already met the 15% match. So it's really, we claimed 25%, which I think helped get us the grant. So we should really try and do what we said we were going to do. And I, like Kathy said early on, I don't think we're going to have a problem as long as the project starts going. So I don't know. I think Liz is supposed to submit the like quarterly report, but I haven't seen anything. She doesn't run it by me. I don't know if she needs to, or if we should ask that she does. Maybe we should. Just be like, hey, can EAC review the report before you send it in? Might be worth it. I don't know. I don't really want to like spend more of her time and just run up her bill. But if we should be doing that, we should probably do it. What do you think? You guys agree or no?
We should review
If-
it.
Yeah,
I would like to.
yeah. It would be nice to even know that it's going out. I guess I don't even know if it's being drafted or what's going on. So
Right.
maybe tune into the borough meeting. I don't know. I can't. I'm usually on kid duty.
Hmm.
Any other kind of, so I'll reach out to Liz and just ask her to keep us in the loop on submittals and if we can review them before they go out.
Are we gonna do visual assessments?
I mean, we're hoping. Probably not this year.
Okay, next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting kind of late. And, you know, it's really up to Liz. Remington or ASA was going to pull together the training materials, and then I think Remington Vernick was going to run it. And we could probably coordinate with Lower Makefield Township to use their community center, like they have their, you know, their speakers go there for their EAC. So it would probably be easy to do that. It's just, it's not out of our hands, but it's kind of like out of our hands a little bit right now, unless we want to do the work ourselves and pay people to do the work.
So how many volunteers do you need to do the visual assessment?
I think if we get like, the plan was to get like 10 people cumulatively trained. And then every time Remington Vernick went out, which we were thinking we'd do like 3 events or something to try and do a couple stretches of stream, you just pull the 10 people and be like, hey, can anyone go on this date? And you'd want to get like 3 or 4 people to go out with the engineer. And that would be a group of like 3 or 4 people, which isn't overburdening like the community. Like, why are these strangers in my backyard? So
Well, we had a list of people from Harvest Day.
yeah, so I mean, we have all their emails, and we would send it out to be like, hey, can you join this training session? And then after the training session, I think we'd be like another round of signups to be like, hey, if you're really interested in this and you want to commit to like volunteering your time, give us your email, like write your name down and we'll include you on the server, like the survey or whatever. I forget what do you use? It's like a sign up genie or something, whatever it is. So people, like the first 3 people to fill their name in would be allowed to go on that event. Just because you don't want like a group of like 10 people romping through the stream at some
Yeah.
point. It's just a little overwhelming. But at the same token, getting the community engaged and educated and doing the assessment's all important. So all stuff to consider, I guess, if it gets going. And it's, I mean, we're looking at like deep fall. No one's going to want to be out there when it's like high flows and 30 degrees. It would be nice to do it in like the spring or the early fall, but it's, you know, this whole pandemic.
I mean, we can start just us if we need it. If we need some notes from fall before spring.
Get some notes. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, I mean, if we need, we can start. If we need to start at fall, we can do it like between us, like 4 of us. The two can go and do the visual assessment.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how much it's important or not. Like what's the if we need it, if not, it's okay.
I don't think you needed to gauge the stream. We already have some locations chosen, and we're going to collect water quality samples at those locations. It's really just like trying to identify those spots. Like, do you have erosion here? Would a good BMP go in here? Like, this spot's really bad. This wall is crumbling or something like that. Like, there's a huge field here and you're getting a ton of sediment into the stream. Like, it's kind of what the visual assessment is for, I think. So we also, I don't think you want to lose the community education portion of it. I think that's one of the more important parts of the visual stream assessment. Because any of us could just run out there and start walking the whole stream. But, I don't know. I can poke Liz again. I'll send it in the email. Let me write this down because last time I wrote it down and forgot. I use Caroline's pad and she'll get mad at me again. Uh-oh, there's like no paper left. All right, so I'm gonna ask her about deliverables and the visual assessment. Then Dropbox for Alex. Any other questions for Liz? I'll just try and get it all in one email. I'll copy you guys if you want.
Can I ask what role Liz has?
Liz is, sorry, she's, Remington Vernick is the borough's engineering consultant, and Liz is our contact at Remington Vernick, so quote unquote, borough engineer. So that's what we mean. The borough engineer just does like engineering stuff for the borough. They're also the engineer for Lower Makefield Township, and they implement the MS4 program for both. So they're kind of in the know on stormwater related things.
Gotcha.
Oh. There's nothing else. That's all I got. All right. Well, I'm going to stop sharing. Goodbye, Paula, and one other viewer of this video. Probably not even Paula. Stop sharing. Stop recording. Do you want to stop the cloud recording?